A man wakes up trapped inside a sealed vault with no food, no water, and no way out. As days pass and desperation sets in, he discovers he's not the only one locked inside. We start with a man who, after a night of heavy drinking, wakes up inside a mysterious vault, with no idea how he got there. The guy has a pounding hangover headache and gets up to start checking out the place, noticing there's a dead rat on the floor and some bugs in the room, along with a metal cabinet that's locked. The man checks his watch and realizes it's already morning, which means he needs to get to work, so he tries to open the vault door but can't, and he even yells for his buddy Fletcher to let him out, thinking it's just a prank. Soon enough, the guy starts needing to use the bathroom, so he grabs his phone and tries walking around the vault to get a signal, but that doesn't work. Then the man starts losing his patience and fails at trying to open the padlock on the cabinet, so he peeks through the holes in the cabinet, since he thinks his coworker Fletcher is hiding inside. After that, he starts looking for hidden cameras and finds nothing, but the guy still thinks it's just a prank, so he pees on the floor to mess with his coworkers. Hours later, the man starts getting hungry and completely loses it, cursing out his coworkers and banging on the door. The guy even says he'll paint the walls brown if the vault isn't opened, and I hope he's got some brown paint hidden somewhere and isn't talking about something else. Then he kicks the cabinet multiple times and tries using his belt to pry it open, but none of it works and he gives up and lies down to sleep. The next day, the guy wakes up, and while yawning, he swallows one of the bugs in the room. Then he gets up and accidentally drops his phone on the floor, which breaks and makes the situation even worse. Soon he starts feeling thirsty and decides to drink his own urine to survive, using his shoe as a cup. After that, he gets frustrated again and smacks the lamp, but while doing that, the guy notices there's a key hidden inside it, so he keeps hitting it until he manages to knock the key loose. So he opens the padlock on the cabinet and grabs 2 tanks of pure oxygen and the tools inside. The man walks up to the vault door and tries using the sledgehammer and the chisel to get out, but the tools only scratch the door. So he grabs the welding equipment and holds the flame up to the fire alarm, hoping to get some water from the sprinklers, but the alarm isn't working anymore. Then the guy tries the same thing on the door, but the flame only darkens the paint. With that, the man has another fit of rage and smashes the cabinet to let out all that frustration. Then he sits on the floor to rest, where he starts showing signs of losing his mind from the lack of water and food, talking to himself. That's when he notices there's a small hole in the wall, so he gets the idea to widen that hole to create a tunnel and escape. But this guy is terrible with tools, and even hurts himself using the sledgehammer. The thing is, the guy has no energy left from the hunger and thirst, so he can't dig very much. Then the man walks over to the tank to inhale some pure oxygen, and ends up passing out, since that kind of oxygen can actually be harmful. But he quickly wakes up and rushes to close the valve on the tank. After that, the guy decides to eat the larvae crawling around the dead rat, since he needs to eat something to avoid dying or getting too weak. And according to survivalists, those little grubs are actually a solid source of protein. Then he keeps digging the hole, and it doesn't take long before the metal structures inside the wall start getting in the way, but the guy grabs the blowtorch and manages to cut through them easily. This really motivates the man, and he says he'll get revenge on whoever locked him in there, so he keeps widening the hole more and more, and manages to see a light on the other side. With that, he squeezes through the opening, and surprisingly ends up in another vault. The man tries to open the door to this room, but it's locked too, and he's furious thinking all that effort was for nothing. And then he notices there's a coffin in the back of the room, and slips back through the hole to grab a tool to protect himself, since he thinks there might be something dangerous in the coffin. But he opens the lid and finds a harmless woman sleeping inside. With that, the man tries to wake her up, and the woman jumps out of the coffin and starts screaming words in another language. She's really scared and uses the hole to get away from the guy, but she's speaking some African dialect, and the man can't explain the situation they're both in, so he decides to sleep in the room with the coffin to avoid scaring the woman. Another day goes by and the woman wakes the guy up and asks him to keep digging, so the two of them start communicating through gestures, and the woman suggests he dig through the back of the room instead of the side, since they might just end up in another vault again. But the man is so exhausted he can barely stand, so he asks the woman for help, but she's afraid of holding the chisel and accidentally getting hit by the sledgehammer, although the guy tries to explain that his hands are too injured to hold the tool, so the woman takes over the hammer and chisel, but she doesn't have enough strength and can't dig through the hole. Meanwhile, the guy sits on the floor and starts talking to himself, showing that his mental health is also going from bad to worse, since he's been days without eating or drinking, and on top of that, he's been burning a ton of energy digging the tunnel, until the woman loses her patience and gives the tools back to the guy. Then she goes to the other room to pee, but he follows her, and the woman grabs the remains of the broken lamp to defend herself. Except the guy didn't want to take advantage of her. He wanted to explain that she should pee in his shoe so he can drink it and not die of dehydration. The man uses body language to explain this, and she understands and agrees to help him, as long as he turns around so he doesn't watch. Then he drinks a little and shares the rest with the woman, and then he eats some more of the rat's larvae and offers some to the woman. but she's disgusted and says she won't eat that. The guy even considers eating the rat itself, and she stops him from doing it, since the animal has been rotting for days and eating it would be a death sentence. Now feeling a bit more energized, the man keeps digging the hole so they can get out of there, but he doesn't have the same strength as before, and the woman starts crying and loses hope. But the guy decides to sing to cheer her up, and she cracks a smile. Then she starts singing along with him, and they both even forget what they're going through. But soon the guy misses a swing and hits his own finger with the sledgehammer. He screams in pain, and the woman tears off a piece of her headscarf to bandage up the poor guy. He thanks her, and the two of them start becoming partners rather than just two strangers. So the two of them decide they'll work together to dig the hole, but suddenly the vault lock starts turning and they rush to try and open the door, but the person on the other side quickly shuts it, as if they're playing with them, and the man even tries to scream for help, but it's no use. Then the guy says what they're doing to them is sick and asks the woman to stop crying, since she's losing fluids from the tears, making her dehydration worse. Next, they take another swing at the wall with the sledgehammer, and the lock turns again. With it, the guy notices a pattern and starts cursing out whoever put them there for playing with their lives. And after several attempts, the guy realizes the door locks every time they look at it, so he tells the woman to face the wall and walk backwards toward the vault door. The plan works, and they manage to get out of that room, but the two of them end up in yet another vault, and this one has a tomb dug into the floor, so the woman goes back to the other vault to grab the tools, since the door could lock again at any moment. They start investigating the room, and the guy says the tomb is empty, and that it was probably dug for them. The woman checks the lock on this vault, and discovers it's also locked, just like the previous rooms, so she uses body language to warn him that they can't look at the vault while they dig. However, they both realize the lock doesn't move anymore when they use the sledgehammer, since the secret to this room must be something else. But the two of them don't know what else to do, and keep digging inside the grave, hoping something will happen, and then the guy starts feeling sick and has to stop, since he's severely dehydrated and malnourished. Then the man says that whoever locked them in there wants them to kill each other, and only then will they open the vault door. With that, the guy points the sharp tool at the woman, but says he won't do what the kidnapper wants, so he starts crying and tells the woman to just let him die inside the tomb. But she slaps him across the face to try and snap him out of it, except it doesn't work, and the woman carries him with great difficulty out of the grave. However, the man's spirit is broken, and he refuses to go on, and after some time, the guy just lies on the floor sleeping, and the woman tries to think of a way to get them both out of this situation. She even starts screaming at whoever is on the other side, trying to get some kind of response. Then the woman cries because she can't find a solution, so she wipes her tears on the man's lips, trying to rehydrate him and keep him from dying. With that, the man wakes up and she starts taking off his clothes. Soon the two of them kiss and get intimate, since the woman is trying to keep him awake, and also the hormones released from the closeness can benefit them both in this dire situation. After that, we see that the two of them fell asleep for a few hours, but soon the guy wakes up and tries to get up without waking her, and he's so weak he can barely put his shirt on, so he drags himself to the previous vault and grabs the fabric that was lining the inside of the coffin. Then he drags himself back to the woman and covers her with the coffin fabric. But soon the vault lock starts moving again, and the man wakes the woman up, warning her not to look at the lock, so she helps him walk, and they both walk backwards to keep the vault from locking again. And when they open the door, they're met with a beautiful view of nature, one that doesn't seem to be planet Earth. Now, if you're confused by that ending, just know you're not the only one. There are a few theories about it. Some say it's a metaphor for life and death, since they suffered so much and were then rewarded with paradise. Others take it a step further and say they actually died, and that the vaults were in fact purgatory, which is why the two of them had to suffer so much before being worthy of going to heaven. And if you think like me, you'll say they were taken by aliens to another planet to colonize it, since the two of them were only freed after they got intimate and formed deeper bonds with each other. So guys, what's your theory about that ending? Did you like how the movie wrapped up? Let us know in the comments. If you want to see more movies like this, just click one of the videos popping up on screen. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next one.